everybody? Welcome in to the Basketball Bulletin. I'm Trevor Lane. Donnie Freeman will be joining me in just a moment. We're going to talk about the big news from the day. The Dallas Mavericks deciding to fire GM Nico Harrison. Should this trigger a rebuild for Dallas? Should they ultimately decide to move on from players like Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and maybe more? Plus, the Sacramento Kings looking to potentially tear down their team as well. What this could mean for the trade market overall, as we're starting to get a sense of some of the players who are going to become available. Remember, trade season in the NBA really kicks off around December 15th. That's when it starts to heat up. That's when most of the contracts, not all, but most of the contracts signed over the summer become trade eligible. Happy to have you all here. If you guys have not subscribed yet to the Basketball Bulletin, please make sure you do so. If you're coming in from X, check it out over on the YouTube channel for the Basketball Bulletin. Again, appreciate all of you who are here. We'll jump right in with the super chat. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Kevin said the Mavs need to trade Max and Gafford for Gabe and Maxi Kleba. Then Adam Silver gives them another number one pick. Well, first of all, I'm sure they would love to have a number one pick. And I don't think we're there yet, but I do think there is a world where the Mavs pivot towards tanking this season and say, you know what, we've got our pick this year. We're not going to have our pick for a while. Let's do what we can to get an AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, somebody like that, if we can. That could be a really attractive option for the Mavs to have moving forward. To have Cooper Flagg plus one of those players would be amazing, but they're certainly not doing it for that trade. But come on. Now you get Mavs fans are down bad as it is, and you want them to just give everything else over to the Lakers. Oh, Donnie Freeman. Look at this. Kevin wants the Mavs to now. Nico is gone, and he wants the Mavs to trade Max Christie and Daniel Gafford to the Lakers for Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleba.
That sounds like a fair trade to me.
Sounds like a fair trade, right? That's not happening. But Adam Silver giving them another number one pick. Do you buy at all the whole conspiracy theory that the number one pick was part of the Luka trade?
I mean, I kind of talked about it in the video earlier, but I mean, it sounds nice. It does sound nice, but it can't be, because you can't plan for AD and Kyrie to go down like that. Because if they don't go down, then that doesn't happen. You also can't account for the Bulls, and Josh Giddey in that shot or whatever. Just subtract one win from them, right? Like, you can't account for these things. So it sounds nice, but I just think there's a few things there that make it to where it's unreasonable to think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't buy that the number one pick was part of it. They had a 1.8% chance, which almost 2 times out of 100. That's not a lot, but that's also not nothing.
Is there a chance that they pivot? Like, it wasn't initially a part of it, but the NBA pivoted. Okay, you guys are in this situation. This is what's going to happen. You have a 1.8% chance. We're going to give you Cooper Flagg. Boom. Maybe it wasn't initially part of the plan, but
And then they said, "Hey, we see how fans have responded, and that you guys need something to be excited about, so we're going to give you Cooper Flagg." I mean, look, if you want to buy into all that kind of stuff, I get it. There's certainly been some, like LeBron just so happens to be number one overall when the Cavs have the pick. Derrick Rose in Chicago, Patrick Ewing, right? I mean, there have been some coincidences, let's say, in the NBA draft. But again, there is also randomness. And I also said, we talked about it in last year's draft. There's narratives you can construct to say just about any result would have been rigged. Like, oh, the Spurs get the number one pick. Oh, they're trying to help Wemby. They want to get, they want the Spurs to be really good again. Whatever team gets the number one pick, you can construct a narrative that would suggest that it's rigged in some particular way.
That one, the entire basketball world knew the Spurs were getting Wemby. Like, that one.
Yes, that was frustrating. Especially, I was rooting as a fan of a Western Conference team. I was rooting for the Hornets when it got down to the Hornets and the Spurs. I'm like, please send Wemby to the East. Send somebody East. Stop coming West, everybody.
Whole world knew way in advance too. That was not surprising at all.
No. Okay. Let's get into this here, though. We got to talk about Stephen A. Smith had some comments about who was really to blame for the Luka trade. We'll talk about that. We've got some super chats here to get into. We'll get there in just a moment. But let's go here, though. Stephen A. talking to Shams Charania, finding out, hey, who really was to blame And Donnie, it's not a surprise. I think you even texted me earlier today that like a bunch of stuff is going to come out about Nico now, as this tends to happen when somebody leaves an organization. The Mavs are going to throw Nico under the bus, and maybe deservedly. You know, Patrick Dumont already issued a statement earlier today where he took some responsibility, some blame, certainly, and he's obviously part of that. But I would imagine most of the focus in the negativity, it's going to go towards Nico.
Oh yeah, he is the easy target. Like he's already been the target. He is the easiest guy in the history of guys that you could put blame on because the organization, the fans already hate him. Everything. He is so easy of a target. So you get rid of him, and if you're Dumont, you can say, "Oh, I just I believe what he had to say, and just I'll make things better from here, right?" And I was listening to their segment on ESPN earlier, and Shams was saying that. I don't know if you heard it, but Shams was saying that because of the fact they made the finals and things like that, Dumont, and this is what we had thought, but Dumont kind of listened to Nico, and he basically thought that everything that he was saying was like he was a basketball savant, like it was holy gospel, everything he was telling him. So when he came to him with the Luka trade, he was like, probably like, "Oh, this is sketchy, but I trust you." And ultimately, it didn't work out, right?
So, yeah, a ball gospel means trade Luka, and how great is it that we actually like. Of all the random luck to actually have a picture of Rob and Nico talking, like for all we know, right there in that moment, I'm sure they talked about a bunch of things, but for all we know, in that moment, that could have been Rob saying, looking at Nico saying, "No shit, did you just say Luka?" like how shocked.
Wasn't the reporting that Rob was like, "Oh, you're joking" or something like that when Nico proposed that?
I think so. I don't want to say for sure. I don't recall exactly what it was, but yeah, I think it's out there that Nico like brought it up to Rob, like, "Hey, what about Luka?"
Yeah, and I think the response from Rob was like, "You're kidding. Like, what do you really want to do?" But yeah, that's the craziest part about it, right? Is that he had set himself on this path, right? He set up this, and just to rewind a little bit, again, he was a good GM up until this point. Now you could, if you go back and look at some of those deals, maybe he had different plans, different things he wanted. Like he wanted Kuzma, got this, did different things. But ultimately, he had set up a team that was very functional around Luka, makes it to the finals. You could argue is better the following season with the addition of Clay and things like that before the Luka trade. But he got to a point where because of that stuff, Dumont was like, "Okay, I really trust you, right? You have a good track record, and I don't know much about basketball and all that stuff." But when it comes down to this situation, it's crazy because he had set himself on AD. Like that's the worst part about all this is if you want to trade Luka, publicize it, make this whole like thing work out, do the whole sweepstakes. You could get 5, 6, 7 first round picks for Luka because teams don't typically trade their superstar at 26 years old, right? Generational superstars at that. Like, you could have done so much more, but he really wanted AD because the Nike connection. Also, that's why he also felt really comfortable dealing with Rob Pelinka because of the Nike connection and all the agency and all that stuff. So that's where it's a little bit shady, right? Of course, in terms of this, but Rob was the beneficiary of Nico's galaxy braining, right? Because he overthought this entire process.
He got too cute with that. He decided that Luka was not good enough to win a championship with because of the defense, because of the conditioning and all of that. George Sedano had something a little bit ago on ESPN talking about he was talking to ESPN radio. He was talking to an executive. He said, I don't recall. I think it was a Miami executive who said that after Kobe lost to the Celtics in 08, there was a lot of like he was just beside himself and would now in all of his workouts would listen to the song the Celtics played on the court when they won the championship because he was just obsessive about righting that wrong. And that LeBron didn't leave the house for weeks and went back in the lab after losing to the Mavericks and worked on his post game because that's what was getting picked on. But Luka, after losing in the finals, showed up the next summer in maybe even worse shape. And that was what ultimately propelled Nico and the Mavs to be like, okay, he's not cut from the same cloth. But I do agree, if that's what you're looking at and you're taking a generational talent like Luka and you're using that as your basis for, oh, well, he's not like Kobe, we need to trade this guy. And then that's the return. Like, if you want to get to the point of, okay, we need to trade Luka, okay, but your return shouldn't be a 32 going on 33-year-old guy who's had a long history of injury problems that, as Aguirre now says, AD looking thicker than a bowl of oatmeal.
Did you see that new picture of him?
Yes. Yeah. So that's the other piece to this. Like, you traded for Anthony Davis, who is now also looking kind of Luka-esque, in terms of the weight gain and all of that. Look, it hits all of us at times, but still, this happens, and it still looks even worse for Nico, because now the guy that you wanted to go get, the guy that's going to be your defensive anchor, maybe he's doing the same stuff Luka did. He's not available very much. He's put on weight. You're right back in the same situation. Maybe the decision to trade Luka wasn't the wrong way. It could have been the right decision. We won't know.
No, it was the wrong decision.
But the return is what's definitely wrong. I know. Really, it's probably wrong. But if they had gotten, let's say they had gotten a bunch of picks or something like that, because you never know in that type of situation.
No, you're right. You're right. They could have absolutely gotten a better return than that. And, on AD, Shams was also saying that because of the eye thing, the surgery he had, he was not able to do anything this entire summer. So that basically is a big reason as to why, even though AD tried to explain it away in a way that makes no sense, where he's like, I always put on this weight and then I lose it. But then why are you bigger than you've ever been? That doesn't make any sense. You would have lost the weight last season, which would have set you, at a lower number as a starting point. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, but also my one contention of that is always, okay, if you can't do anything, then that means you need to adjust your diet. Like, that doesn't, okay, that's fine. You just don't eat as much. You don't have as many calories. You can't overindulge in that situation, because you're going to inevitably, because of the lack of activity, put on weight. And that's the same, criticism I had for Luka, or same criticism I'll have for anybody, is you just need to adjust that piece of it. Unless you have something else going on that impacts your body's ability to metabolize, then that's all you really have to do if you're not able to be fully active. So there's really no excuse, in my opinion. But I think that with AD, if you're AD and you see that letter come out from Dumont earlier, how does that even make you feel? Right? Like, he is forever linked to this, and he didn't even do anything.
Yeah, it's not his fault. It's not on him. He will forever be linked to this trade, and all he can do is do his best. And you could argue maybe he hasn't, because he has put on weight. But all he can do is try to keep his head. And I will say, I think Mavs fans, while certainly I've seen a lot of frustration that, oh man, we traded Luka to get this guy and now he's hurt again. In general, I think they've been very supportive of Anthony Davis and Max Christie, understanding like these guys didn't ask for it. They're not to blame in this situation. They instead focused their venom on Nico Harrison. But now that Nico is gone, that brings us to, should the Mavs trade Anthony Davis? Do they move on from him now? Because now you're going to have somebody coming in. Michael Finley is going to be the new GM. There's one other guy, the name is escaping me, but that is going to be the co-GM. But now do you move on from Anthony Davis and say, we've got people coming in that don't have that connection, that have not invested in Anthony Davis or any of these other players on this roster, and that gives us now the freedom to pivot and put Anthony Davis on the trade market ahead of the deadline?
Yeah, that may absolutely be the case. And Finley has always been involved anyway. So for better or worse, I'm not sure exactly how that'll turn out, but he's a familiar face and has been around the organization for many years and been in a position of power with the organization from what I can recall. But that's absolutely something that I think is on the table, that you have to look at not only him, you've got to look at a handful of guys in this roster and say, can we potentially get a return by moving this player and just pivoting more into a rebuild? And like we were talking about earlier, I think they're actually uniquely positioned because they've already got like 1 foot into a rebuild. If you look at this roster,
not intentionally, but yes,
but they do. And so I think it could be a pretty quick rebuild, or a retooling, I would say, because I think you could spend a few years and get pretty good, because you have some guys in this roster that can be a part of that next phase because you've drafted well over the last couple of years, right? So,
yeah, I mean, right now, the Dallas Mavericks, we look at their draft pick situation. They have their pick this year. Their first in 2027 goes to Charlotte. That's, I believe, the PJ Washington trade. They've got their 2028 first going to OKC, because of course OKC has a swap there. Your 2029 first goes to either Houston or Brooklyn. Your 2030 first goes to either San Antonio or Minnesota in a swap. So they don't have control of their draft capital at all. So this would have to be a quick pivot rebuild. If you're going to make this kind of a trade, if you're going to move on from Clay, you're going to move on from AD. I don't know about Kyrie. It would have to be a quick rebuild because you could bottom out this year, ideally get a high pick, get Cam Boozer, and then pair that player with Cooper Flagg, and you'd have to bounce right back up because you don't have control of your own draft after that.
Yeah, you could also accomplish that, like I mentioned earlier, without even trading these guys, because their lack of availability should sustain throughout the season.
Just sit them down.
Yeah, you could do that too. Like Kyrie's already out for, let's just say 40, 50 games. Like that's a good head start.
Hey, don't rush back.
Right. Like take as much time as you need. Like we know you may not want to do that, but just take as much time as you need, get fully right. And in the meantime, you were going to continue to develop Coop, give him as much burn as possible. The dude's 18 years old. His runway is incredibly long, I think. And we are going to just lose games and get a good draft pick and be back next year. That could be the vision as well. Like it doesn't have to be burn it all down. So, I don't know if it'll work, but that could be what they're thinking.
That's true. Now, let's say they trade AD. I've already got people asking, can the Lakers get Anthony Davis? It's the money. Stacking up that much money, very, very difficult to do for the Lakers unless you were talking about a LeBron trade, which again doesn't make any sense for what we're talking about for the Mavs. But the Lakers just don't have enough salary to stack up to go get Anthony Davis. Even and the Mavs don't have enough roster spots. Even if you stack up Rui and Maxey and Gabe and on and on and on, like you're just not going to do it. By the way, if you were the Lakers right now, Donnie, and you could give up, let's say, forget the contracts. If you could give up Austin Reeves and get Anthony Davis, would you do it?
Oh,
because I think last year that would be like all the way up until the start of this season. That's probably a yes. But Austin's 31-9 so far this year, and AD's been very hurt. Would you do that?
I mean, I could see a vision where like Luka, LeBron, AD would be like a clear championship favorite, I think.
Right.
But like
a 27-year-old Austin Reeves for 32 going on 65-year-old Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and he's already dealing with injuries. He's got to play his way back into shape. We don't know exactly what LeBron will be. I think he'll be fine, but we don't know exactly what he'll be. Yeesh. But the Luka and AD pairing in theory is like a perfect pairing.
Right.
So
most of the chat saying though I'm keeping Austin Reeves.
Yeah, that's the way I'm leaning too. I could see it, but I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah. I think I agree, which is crazy though, right? Like because that's when I really stopped to think. Number one, how valuable has Reeves become? But also, what does that mean for Anthony Davis when we talk about his trade value around the NBA? Okay, so it's not the Lakers that skill set wise, sure, the Lakers would be a great fit. Contract wise, it's not the Lakers that are the landing spot for Anthony Davis. Where would he go? Where would AD wind up? Where would be the best place for him?
A team that is one piece away from a championship, ideally, and has disposable salaries. That would be a good destination for him. I just don't know exactly who that is.
San Antonio.
No, stop it. Maybe
San Antonio. I'm telling you.
In all seriousness, that could be good, but maybe something I was thinking about Minnesota. Like maybe you could flip Gobert or something like that. Now Dallas
you have to go to a third team.
Yeah, you Dallas wouldn't want that, but like Minnie would be a good pairing for AD, I think.
If you could turn Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo into Anthony Davis, should the Wolves do that?
Yeah, I would do it.
And then you've got AD and Gobert and Ant.
That's but I mean, I think you could argue otherwise too, though. It's just like Reeves, but I would
What about what somebody in the chat says Clippers because the Clippers have the ancient roster.
Boston would be a good landing spot. Give him this year off, and then next year.
Give him this year off.
Oh yeah, that would be.
What about the Chicago Bulls? They've dropped a few games since, but they've been surprising everybody. They're the 6th seed right now. What if you build a deal around the expiring contract of Vucevic, and then you go from there?
If you're in New York, do you swap Cat? Like that's another thing you could do.
I don't think the Knicks would trade Cat for AD. You can argue they should, but Cat, the age factor being in there too.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I think Cat's huge for them. Like his shooting, spacing, playmaking. I think all that's huge for them. But that's something that's also there. But the thing is that it's not because of his age, because of his injuries. Certainly, the fact he's injured right now, and then the remaining salary. It's not a clear cut like it was a few years ago. Every team, if possible, would trade for AD. Like some teams would have a very real question mark about that trade. And a team like the Bulls, that could be nice, but I don't think they're on the right timeline. But that's where he's from, right? He's from Chicago. So
he's from Chicago. That's what I'm saying. Like, what if you do something around Vucevic? And what if the Bulls say we don't want to be the team to pay Kobe White? The Mavs need a point guard, and he's young. Off you go. Then you got, and that's not quite enough salary. You'd have to do something else, there. But still, that could be something interesting.
It's hard. It's a little harder than I thought it would be to find a perfect spot for him.
Well, and I think that speaks to where Anthony Davis is at and why, bringing us full circle, why the Luka trade to begin with was so insane that here we are. It's not even a year. We're 9 months from the Luka trade, and we're talking about Anthony Davis, and it's a guy who is, for the course of his career, been a unicorn, been the kind of guy that could fit anywhere on any team because he's so damn versatile. And right now we're saying, gosh, it's hard to find the fit for him now because he's older and injured and it isn't the guy that he once was.
Yeah. And he was a top 10 guy last year. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
And I always flash back to that first Mavs game where he played that first half and was just gangbusters. Like he was unstoppable.
Oh.
And then he gets hurt. Right. And he was unstoppable. And then I think rushed back. Sham said it too. He rushed back and gets hurt again. Like it doesn't work. Right. So I don't know if next year he'd be better off, but I think AD needs to slim back down, get back to, he's like what, 260 right now, get back down to 220-ish, 230-ish. And that would be a good start for him. Take some, like Zion, like take some off those joints and maybe you can deal with less injuries as a result.
Not that Zion's necessarily been great, but yes, I do think that him losing the way, especially if the whole benefit of going to the Mavs was, yay, finally AD can play power forward. He went, cool, give me the pasta, right? Like it makes no, or I guess give me the barbecue in Dallas. Makes no sense, right?
Yeah,
Makes no sense.
Sugar-free barbecue. They have it. He can get it.
If anything, he should have been. Yeah, is the comment in the chat said like 240. Is what it was what AD should be checking in at this season, not 265.
Yeah, 220 is a tad light, but in the 230, 240 range, I think he should get back down. And that would allow him to be more of who he envisions himself to be because he's got this outsized view of himself where he thinks he's still that, but he's not that anymore. He doesn't look like that. He doesn't move like that. He doesn't play like that. And by that, I mean 2020 and earlier. Like that's not him anymore. So if he wants to be that, he needs to slim down some more. And I think that would be beneficial to him in terms of like maybe helping him like avoid some of these injuries, even when he was that size, he still dealt with his share of injuries too.
By the way, Donnie, we do have a little bit of breaking injury news here. According to Shams Charania, Phoenix Suns guard Jalen Green will be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks with a right hamstring strain. He was out to start the season. The hamstring injury, if you saw it, he made James Harden look like he was planted in the ground, blew right past him like Harden was a tree, and flies past him, gets to the bucket, and then along the baseline, reaches back, grabs that hamstring. It went, and now 4 to 6 weeks. These injuries can reoccur. Man, he hasn't been out there much, but when he's been out there, he's actually looked really, really good for the Phoenix Suns. So disappointing to see an injury like this to Jalen Green.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew it was a bad one because he was really struggling to even get off the court that day. So really unfortunate. He's looked really good, but he'll be back and hopefully better than ever.
Yeah, hope so. Hopefully he is back soon for him, and for the Phoenix Suns, who have been surprisingly feisty this year, more so than I think we would have expected coming into the season. Okay, so Anthony Davis, should the Mavs trade him? I think they need to explore it. I don't think they're there just yet. Really had to take a shot at Harden. No,
also, dude, that profile picture is insane. It's Reeves with cornrows.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I know there's one. Isn't there one going around with Laravia too?
Oh my God, I haven't seen it. That picture is insane.
No, that was more so than a shot at Harden. By the way, I had called the Clips Hawks game last night. I was about as impartial as I could be. I was nice.
Right.
I wasn't disappointed that they lost in the end. But no, I was mostly wanting to get a tree pun in there. That's why I threw in the Harden was rooted in the ground
Oh
thing.
my god! Every time,
I
God,
had to.
every time. Did you throw one of those on the broadcast?
I think I mentioned something. I think I said he was like standing still or something like that. I threw in something to that effect. Yes. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along those lines. I threw it in there. Okay, so should the Mavs move on from Anthony Davis? Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know that they're there just yet. But if this goes on much longer, if they continue winning at a 3-8 clip, winning 3 of their every 11 games, if they're 6-22 in their next 11, then you have to really start seriously thinking this is a lost season. But you also have to start thinking this might be an opportunity for us to bottom out, get a high pick. I mean, look at the schedule coming up.
I mean, the problem is it's a lost season already. Teams don't recover from this start in the West. It's just already a lost season.
Donnie, where's the win? Where do they win? Like they could beat Phoenix. Are they beating? I wouldn't pick them over Portland right now.
I mean, they could win any game on any night.
The Clippers have been awful. They could win some of the, but this is not a light schedule though either. No. We look heading into trade season. Okay. Oh my God. Look at as you get into some. This is when trade talks pick up. OKC, Houston, Detroit. Detroit is on fire right now. You get Philly. Maybe Philly will still be banged up. At New Orleans. Okay, that's a saving grace. Merry Christmas. It's Golden State. They're going to kick your ass on Christmas Day. Denver. That. There's not a lot of wins that I see on the schedule.
They've already played most of the easy games because they played Washington twice, right?
Yeah. The Pelicans game, the Memphis game, those are probably the wins. But again, we're talking about you need to be significantly above a 3-11 clip. Looking at the schedule, I see a 3-11 clip continuing here for the Mavs.
Well, see, that's my point when I say they don't actually need to trade anybody. They can just keep on doing what they're doing. It's gonna keep on going.
But then if you don't trade anybody, those guys, that value just expires on your roster. Like Clay's not going to have any value next year, most likely. Like your chance to move him would be now.
Well, if you move him now anyway, you're selling him at a low, so you'd have to move him towards the deadline and hope that he's bounced back by then. But AD and Kyrie, I think, would have better value later than they would now.
Oh, I'd agree with that. Just once they're both healthy and they're back and everything.
For sure. Yeah. I think that they would have better value, especially if in here around January area, they're both playing. They both look good. I think you could really sell a team on them. We haven't talked much about the Kyrie of it all. It's kind of unfortunate if they do wind up. I saw a comment saying Kyrie doesn't deserve that. It is kind of unfortunate if they do sell off him or AD and just kind of pivot this team. He's done a great job of being a mentor to Coop. I saw something going around where every time he's always pulling him to the side, always coaching him up. And that's really cool to see, of course. But Kyrie still has aspirations. He's not ready to transition into that phase of his career yet, right? So
he should go to the Clippers. He should go to the Clippers then.
Oh my God! I should.
He's got aspirations, Donnie. Come on.
Fruit.
There was no way I could let that go.
Oh my!
Come on.
Oh my God! I set that one up. Oh my God! Yeah. So anyway, I expect Kyrie to be good, but I do wonder what they do with him. Do they hold on to him? Does he wind up being a casualty of all of this as well? I don't really know.
So I do wonder if you just tell Kyrie, hey, don't worry about rushing back.
Yeah.
And because remember, you can only be down, if you're the Mavs, you can only be down for 1 year. You can be down for this year. Then you got to be on the rise back up. You could trade AD and keep Kyrie.
Yeah.
You can go the other
Kim
way.
was just saying a second ago, like a couple days ago, that, oh man, they're hoping Kyrie comes back sooner than later. He was literally just saying that. So
right.
I don't know if that would be the organizational goal. And getting Kyrie back would also be helpful in terms of helping Coop actually have somebody out there that can get him the ball. Like that would be a big thing too. So like that's where it's interesting too. But like I just wonder like what the direction is with him too.
Right now they have the worst offensive rating in the NBA. The Dallas Mavericks. They almost won last night against the Bucks. They were right there. Cooper Flagg had his best game of the season, had 26 points. They were right there about to get a win. And Giannis did Giannis things. In fact, I think it was Ryan Rollins who scored the final bucket, a layup. Against the Mavs, and it just wasn't to be. But they were competitive with a Bucks team that's been solid at least this season.
Okay. Yeah. But did you see that they have a top defense? Like Nico's vision, it was actually true. Like he got a top defense. It just didn't amount to anything because they can't score worth a lick. But they have a top defense in the NBA.
Well, defense wins championships. Do you see the vision?
Yeah, he's on the right path. He just needs to have the scoring with it too. That's all.
All right,
He's halfway there.
Let's get into this. The Sacramento Kings, are they going to burn it down as well? Keon Ellis, please. I have been a big proponent of Keon Ellis for a while now. I've thought Sacramento needs to use him more and not less. We're seeing this start to go around. Donnie, I don't want to fully commit to like this is happening in Sacramento just because I took some of what was being said as opinion versus reporting. But the Kings are reportedly gearing up for a full rebuild and plan to explore trades for Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, and others. Yet they absolutely should. They absolutely should. But as this super chat comes in saying Keon Ellis, that's the problem they're going to run into, I think, is that when teams are talking trades with Sacramento, nobody's saying, hey, what's the price on DeMar DeRozan? Nobody's saying what's the price on, and Zach LaVine's actually been pretty good, but I don't think anybody wants the contract right now. And Sabonis, like, how do you build a good, he's very good, but how do you build a good team around him that can legitimately win? That's the tough part with him. The problem is teams are going to be saying what I've been saying, like, hey, how about that Keon Ellis guy? How about Keegan Murray? What about one of those guys? Can we get one of them? And those are the guys that, frankly, if you're Sacramento, those are the guys they need to keep. And they need to trade away everybody else.
I mean, it's the Kings, so I wouldn't be surprised if they traded anybody. Like they could do whatever. But like in terms of Sabonis, like he's an interesting one because I think you need to put a bunch of Derek Joneses around him. You need to put like those, or if you could get an Aaron Gordon, that'd be amazing, especially current Aaron Gordon that could shoot the ball. That would be amazing. But like that's a very specific player archetype, and it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah. To get a few of those guys on your roster that you can put around him. So I don't know if he can be like, I think he could be a third option on a title team. I just don't know if he could be your starting center, which is a little bit tricky. Maybe he has to go back to the forward and you get a defensive center like a Gobert next to him, but then you have potential perimeter defensive concerns as well if they get him switched out there. So he's a hard fit. I don't have the same concerns for the other two guys. I think you can kind of plug them in mostly anywhere. Yeah. And they could do what they're there to do, right? Like DeMar, he would be a great sixth man, I think, for a lot of teams that are trying to win a chip right now. He could come in, play 25 minutes a night, get to his mid-range shot, get you 15 points a game. He could do that. And Zach, I think would be a guy that you'd be slotting into your starting group. So you would have to change the way that you're playing a good bit, especially with his high usage, high shot type. But I think you could also find, because he's such a good shooter and all that stuff as well, I think you can find roles for him on teams that are, again, good and he could be successful. And he has a lot of money now, but you're only 1.5 years left on that salary. He's going to have to come down.
The Kings right now are just like the Mavs. The Mavs are 3-8, 3-7 for Sacramento. A worse point differential of -8.6 compared to Dallas, which is -6.3.
They're right on the cusp of play-in, though.
They're right on the cusp of the play-in, and you never say never in the West. But just if you're right there, but if they start to slip, I feel like the Kings have resisted going into a rebuild for so long and just continued to try to add pieces that don't really fit. If they do decide, hey, we're really going to do this the right way, and it'll be painful for them because they got stuck in a rebuild for 17 years. But if they do decide, hey, we're going to go into a rebuild, I don't think the market's super strong for those guys, but I agree. Like the market for Zach LaVine is stronger than it was a couple of years ago when he was a Chicago Bull. Now that there's only 2 years on his deal, and he's been shooting the hell out of the ball, especially last season, shot great. Sabonis, I mean, somebody will be he's a hard guy to plug in somewhere, but DeMar DeRozan next year is not even fully guaranteed. It's only $10 million guaranteed. I do think there's some movability here for these contracts if the Kings decide to pivot. And frankly, I think that they probably should consider it at least within the next, 15, 20 games if they're continuing to struggle.
Yeah, they haven't really gotten that guy either in the draft that is a clear star that can propel them since Cousins, and even then there were other issues going on, but that's quite a while ago. So they haven't really had that guy. Yeah, they could have, but who did they take? Bagley? I think they took Bagley.
Anytime you can take Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic, you have to do it. You have to do
it. That's such a Kings thing to do, though. Oh my god. Like even like Trae Young, there's some few guys there. But anyway, whatever. They haven't really had that guy. So I do wonder if they could eventually get that guy, they would make the right decisions, but they have to bottom out first, I think. And really they got their hopes up after they were really good a couple years ago. They had that series against Golden State and play-in games and all that stuff, and they were really fun and good and energetic and all that stuff. But it's not the same thing anymore. Like, I don't understand the idea to trade for Levine and do all these other things. They should have pivoted into a rebuild, because you're not going to be competitive. It seems like they're content being like a 500 team, but you're struggling to even beat that.
They're content making the playoffs, but in the Western Conference, this
if they were in the East, they'd be fine. Like their record could be flipped if they're in the East, for all we know. Like
exactly,
So that's where it's a little bit different, I think, for them. I think they should be positioning themselves to potentially rebuild, but they've resisted doing it for the last few years because they were in a prolonged rebuild, and I understand that. But the facts are the facts, and this roster is not able to really do anything.
So if you are another team and you're calling Sacramento, I am trying to get, and I'm resisting this if I'm the Kings, but I'm trying to get either Keon Ellis or Nick Clifford attached to a deal here in order to get some value. Devin Carter, so on, but Nick Clifford, pretty high on him, and Keon Ellis. For Lakers fans that are in here, if there's anybody to target, it's Keon Ellis. You go after him. He'd be a great fit for what they need. He fouls a lot, and that can be a little bit of a concern. But in terms of skill set, with what the Lakers need, it's Keon Ellis. Unfortunately, he's what the Kings also need more of. So I would not expect it to be a thing that actually happens. But because Kings, you just never know.
I actually forgot about Hallie. That's right. They had Hallie, and he was crying that they traded him. Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, Hallie is that guy for sure. They have actually had that guy. You're right. It's unfortunate, man. Kings do dumb things. It just is what it is. And that was another one of those decisions. And for a
little while they didn't, though. For a little while they made non-Kings moves, and we went, okay, here we go. And then they were so desperate to cling on to the playoffs that it's put them in this tough spot. By the way, Donnie, did you know what Russell Westbrook's 3-point percentage is right now for the season?
It's like 52%, isn't it?
It's less than that, but it's still good. 45% from three on 5.1 attempts per game.
Yeah, he's killing it, man. Russ has actually been killing it in Sacramento. Like, seriously, we for all the flack we gave him and them for that decision, because they didn't need more guards, and you were saying all offseason it would be fun basketball to see them just kind of have Russ in there. He's really went over there and he's been killing it. He's been playing great for them, and it's the way he's producing statistically across the board. He still has his Russell Westbrook isms in there, but it makes it interesting that he's somebody that just couldn't even get a contract. Like, he literally couldn't get a contract anywhere, but he very clearly still has some juice, right?
Is it concerning that they're getting that out of Russ and they are 23rd in the NBA in offensive rating?
Well, that just tells. They've moved away from Sabonis as well. That's another thing. So they're not. It's just they've been giving the ball to Russ and letting Russ be Russ, and it's been working out. So it is what it is.
But that has worked for a lot of teams. Just let Russ be Russ.
I mean, it always works for every team for a little bit, right?
There are games.
I don't want to, like I said, like go down the Russ hate.
No, because he has been good this season.
Because he's been really good.
Yeah.
And even in those stretches with the Lakers and stuff, there were times where he did put the team on his back and was really good. Like, I think that's important to mention, right? It's just, we oftentimes remember the very loud mistakes, like him throwing the ball into the stands and this and that, and just overall tenure was not great. And then he had big moments with the Clippers. He had big moments with Denver. So there's still something there. I just will continue to say that I think he's too volatile a player, and that's probably why he struggled to get a new salary. But he's been awesome for Sacramento this season, and they made the right decision. He's on, like, what, a minimum deal, less than a minimum deal, something like that.
He can't be less than a minimum.
Oh yeah, you're right. What I was saying was, like, it wasn't like fully guaranteed or something like that.
Oh, Russ's deal. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's not fully guaranteed. It's kind of like Dwight Howard-esque.
Yeah,
in that
something
sense
going on with that. So he's been great.
43% from three from Zach LaVine, putting up 25 points per game. You're getting positive contributions out of Russell Westbrook, and you're still not winning.
Yeah.
That's not a great sign. So if they do decide to tear down, I'm trying to move Levine on the strength of his great shooting, seeing what I can get for him. Trying to move Sabonis, trying to move DeRozan, Malik Monk. Sure, if somebody wants a 6-man off the bench that can light it up, talk about Malik Monk and move on from him, and just seeing what you can get, just seeing what you can get asset wise. I don't think this team has much moving forward here of a shot to really make a playoff push. I think they'll give it a little more time just to see. But if right now you're getting what you're getting out of Russ and you're getting what you're getting out of Levine and you're still not winning, that's not an ideal place to be.
How have Schroeder and Monk been performing this season, by the way? But I agree with you though. Like we were saying with the Mavericks, the fact that they're starting 3-7, 3-8, it's just you're getting to a point already where it's statistically becoming nearly impossible based on history of the game to be able to climb out of that.
And it doesn't help too that Sabonis is shooting 15% from three. Like he's in a slump. Now he doesn't take a lot, but still he's in it. So that is going to offset some of the performances from guys like DeRozan, or sorry, guys like Levine, as well as Westbrook. But when you go look at Malik Monk, yeah, I mean he's at 49% from deep. He's averaging 14.5 points per game. Like these guys are producing, but you're not getting stops. You're ultimately not scoring enough points. And I just think we knew as a team this would be kind of a mess, though.
Yeah, for sure. We already knew it, and they're kind of already there. I thought this was a funny comment. Apparently, everyone needs to try it.
The Grizzlies should tear it down earlier. The Mavs, maybe it'll be a race to see who tears it down first. But so the Grizzlies, it's more of a you move on from Ja Morant type thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you have to tear it down. You can keep Jaren Jackson Jr. built around him. At least you've got something there. And Cedric Howard is a real find. Like he could really be something there. It's more you move on from Ja Morant. The Kings, it's perhaps you tear it all the way down. The Mavs, it would be more of a partial, you're still building around Cooper Flag, but we've got our draft pick for this 1 year. Let's try to capitalize on it and get a really high pick and then bounce back next year. So there's some differences here with these teams, but ultimately it's, do these teams actually have a shot in the Western Conference? And if the answer is no, do you make some difficult decisions? And obviously there's important context that's different amongst all three of them when we look at their situations. But where you don't want to be caught in the NBA is in the middle. And I know we are in an era now where a treadmill team can make the leap up. We would have considered the Pacers to maybe be a treadmill team, and then they jumped into the NBA Finals last year. We can see that happen. There's more parity around the NBA. Teams in the middle are not as far from the top as they used to be, though, with OKC playing as well as they have been. Maybe there's still that big gap. But that said, you still ultimately don't want to be in a place where you're too good to get a good draft pick and you're too bad to take part in the playoffs. That's no man's land. That's where you absolutely do not want to be. And so we talk about these teams that, should they tear it down, they're these teams that are in danger of living in that space.
Yeah, but Trev, you can't fool me. You just don't want any more competition in the Western Conference. That's all it is. You want all these teams
all east. Everybody go east.
Trade everybody to the Eastern Conference.
Get these guys out of there. Yeah. What's up, Dan?
What's up? He said, do we expect a fire sale from the Kings and Mavs? The Kings, that's been something that's been out there. We just were talking about that, of course. But I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to do it, especially if they keep on sputtering. But for the Mavs, I think it can really go either way, like we were talking about earlier in the video. The interim that comes in, maybe they don't want to make a decision on that right now. Maybe they would prefer to wait till the offseason, things like that. I think there's a few different options that they have, especially because they've got time with Coop. They've already got 1 foot into the rebuild already. They got a #1 pick last year. They could mess around and get another top pick, and then all of a sudden you take that with Lively, Christie, with PJ Washington, and some of the other pieces that they have, and you're really competitive next season. And so I think there's still something there. They don't necessarily have to sell off their guys, but if they wanted to, they absolutely could try to bottom out. It's just more timing based? Do they have to wait until we get closer to the deadline to get AD out there, get him healthy ideally? Who knows if AD comes back and maybe he gets hurt again? I don't know. And if that happens, maybe that derails the plans because teams aren't really going to want to trade for an injured AD. So you got to get him back out there playing healthy. And then at that point, how much is he worth? Is it worth trading him at that point? Maybe teams are only offering you, minuscule packages that you don't want. And then you also look at a guy like Clay. Does he rebound in terms of like his shooting percentages? Does he come back to being more of who he's been for his last like 15 years of his career, whatever it is? Because if he can still shoot at that elite clip as one of the best shooters of all time, then I think he would have value even at a $16 million salary or so. And then Kyrie is also somebody that's interesting because he's out for a prolonged period of time. But when Kyrie comes back, how healthy is he? Because typically guys take a while in terms of like coming back and being 100% themselves after something like that. And so there's a lot of question marks, but the key thing is that I really want to drive home is that they don't have to do that stuff because they're losing games already currently. They could continue to lose games. They're already digging themselves such a big hole that even if they win 30-something games by the end of the season, they still could be in the running for the top pick and have a decent chance at it. So who knows what ultimately winds up happening. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I don't think a new guy is going to come in right now and say, okay, boom, we're going to trade you. Boom, we're going to do this. Boom, we're going to do that. You got to write it out.
Yeah, they've got to let everything settle a little bit. That's going to be important in Dallas, that they let things settle, figure out what's going to happen there. And I think the word fire sale is too strong because fire sale suggests that you're taking, rock bottom, right? Like just get these guys off my roster type of situation. And I just don't think that's necessarily that should not be. They need to make sure they're getting whatever assets they possibly can out of these guys if they're going to move them. And like you said, if they're losing anyway, they don't necessarily have the urgency to move those guys at whatever the cost. You know what I mean?
Especially for AD, you need to get back as much as you can because you traded AD for Luka. Basically, you can't turn around and get like one pick back for AD because that just you need to get the best possible deal. You need to get some good young talent. You need to get a few picks, maybe some swaps. You need to actually make the AD trade look something close to what the Luka trade should have looked like in terms of sheer pick volume. Because I think with the Luka trade, like I told you off camera the other day, I think you could look at it the way that most people look at it, but I also think you could look at it differently. Kleber, okay, it costs a first round pick to offset that salary. You could value that as one first round pick because the Lakers didn't actually want him. He's just a throw in to get that salary off their books. Max Christie, he's like 21, 22. He's a first round equivalent, in my opinion. If he was drafted in the last couple of years, he's a first round pick easily and probably a lottery pick. So you could value that way. AD, probably worth, he was a top 10 player at the time he was traded. He got hurt, but his last game was a 40-23 game. So he was worth at least a few first round picks. So like the sheer volume doesn't, because they only actually gave one, but I think you could look at it a little bit differently. But for AD, I think fans need to really see you get back that sheer volume, unless you're getting like a can't miss young prospect, right?
Are you trying to argue that the Luka trade wasn't that bad?
No. I'm not making that argument at all. I'm just saying that it's been perceived incorrectly. That's all I'm saying. It was a very bad trade. They should have never made that trade in the first place. If I'm Nico, 10 times out of 10, I'm not making that trade. But I'm not Nico. I'm not crazy. So,
I'm not where we landed is Nico's crazy.
Nico is crazy for making that trade. That's indefensible. Like it just is what it is.
He had to know when he was making that. Like, if this goes south, I'm done.
No, remember he said that when at the time they made the trade, he said we expected backlash, but we didn't expect it to be this bad.
Yeah,
that tells me that he just did not know at all what he was doing, and so he's.
Yeah, how could you not expect it to be that bad? That's absolutely crazy. Okay, guys, we're gonna take some more of your questions, your comments, your super chats. We're gonna get into those in just a second. We're just gonna pay a bill really quick. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code Bulletin. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
All right, threw together a few picks for tonight. Maybe let's take a look. Freebie, SGA, more than 0.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That one's obviously an easy one. Tyrese Maxey, he's been on a tear, more than 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. They're playing him a ton of minutes too. And then I've got Cat. This one was the one I was most iffy on, but I'll say that he'll get a double-double. $10 entry on a max would get you $40. If you guys want to check that out, you can use the code Bulletin in the description down below. You can find that link. Okay, Donnie, let's get into some of these super chats.
I was just looking at those.
I know we've missed a few here.
Yes, we have.
Let's go here. Mamadou said, if the Pelicans are still bad before the deadline, do you see them trading Trey Murphy or Herb Jones to the Lakers?
No.
Yes, please.
I would like it, but no.
Pretty please? If we ask nicely, will they?
They may trade them, but I don't think they're trading them in the first place. But I don't think they're trading them to Lakers, especially.
Which do you think is more likely?
Maybe Herb, just because he's going to be doing a new salary.
Yeah,
maybe that. And I think
they got him on a new deal though, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they extended him.
They did. You're right. This offseason, right?
Yep,
I believe so. But I think you can maybe. It depends on what the team needs. Like you've got a defensive specialist, a great scorer on the other end. Like I don't know. I think maybe Herb is still more likely, though. I think Trey, with that offensive upside, is the guy they'd hold on to. I
agree, too. I think they would hang on to Trey Murphy. If I am the Lakers, I would be very interested in Herb Jones if I get him simply because of his defensive prowess on the perimeter there. But, yeah, I mean, look, if the Pelicans are still bad, do I see them trading either one of those guys? I would say it's unlikely they trade those guys. Mm-hmm. But if they're bad, that increases the likelihood that they would at least consider it because – this team, they're in such a mess right now. Like they're not winning games. And there's talk about, do they stay in New Orleans past this contract? Could they get relocated? Could this be the way that they get a team in Vegas? Mm-hmm. All that kind of stuff. This team needs to do something. And so if they do decide to move on from one of those guys, I would imagine they would want a lot in return. But we already saw, look, Derek Queen's been fine. But is he worth giving up a lottery pick next year plus the pick that they swapped this year?
It depends where it falls.
So they've done crazy stuff.
Queen's been pretty good. I think Queen's been really good.
Yeah,
I think it depends where it falls.
If their pick winds up 12th or something,
yeah,
okay, like you could argue maybe, but
if it winds up top 3, then no, absolutely not. Maybe even top 5, then no. Maybe even top 7, then no.
I mean, that the Atlanta Hawks could be selecting Darren Peterson, number 1 overall.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Like I for the record though, I mean they've done crazy stuff, but I can't see them getting rid of either of these guys. They don't need to get rid of these guys. I think they're core pieces. Like you don't have to get rid of them. I think if you could maybe make a move on those other top 3 guys in terms of salary here, that would be what you would try to do. And the rest of this is kind of here already with Fears, with Queen. Like you've got the bones already, very similar to the Mavs, like where you've got this team, you got the bones of a team already here. You may just need to make some moves for your bigger salaries.
Yeah, I don't.
In which case, you may need to add some assets too, because I don't know that these guys have much value at all. So,
yeah, I don't think they ultimately move on from Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. I'd be surprised if they did, but if they do, teams should absolutely be interested. The bigger question is, do you at some point pull the trigger, move on from Zion? What do you do there? Derek Queen has been fine. I just don't know that he's like. If that ends up being a top 3 pick or top 5 pick, he's not worth that. All right, let's go here. Forget the Mavs sending anyone to LA. The PR would be bad. That's
it's not gonna happen.
That's pretty fair.
The new guy that comes in there is not sending anybody to LA.
MJ said the real question: the new guy in there? They're gonna whenever they hand over the team phone, to the new guy, they're like, hey, here's your new company phone. Rob Pelinka's number is going to be blocked in that phone. Like they wouldn't let him have access to that.
Unless it's an absolute fleece, it doesn't matter. It could be almost equivalent, and entire fandom would implode over that.
It would have to be like Austin Reeves for Max Christie or something like that.
Yeah, it'd have to be an absolute fleece. Which, by the way, we don't talk enough about it. But Nico also made another trade at the deadline last year, the Grimes one that looks so bad.
Oh yeah,
we don't talk enough about that. Like that was just such a
76ers.
Yeah, that was such a that might have been the worst trade last year if it wasn't for Luka.
If it wasn't for the Luka trade, yeah,
exactly. Like that was an insanely bad trade. So yeah, whoever comes in, like they need to actually just not take any trade calls for a little bit at all. Period. Actually,
So this MJ is saying it's still very suspicious how Pelinka convinced Nico. No one in their right mind would accept that trade. Maybe he wasn't in his right mind. Look at the beanie. Would someone in their right mind wear that beanie?
What is wrong with the beanie?
I don't know. He just looks good. It's just a goofy look, especially you're in the coffee shop, man. Like, take the beanie off. You're inside.
I mean, maybe,
What
but
are you
maybe he
doing?
didn't want. Maybe he didn't want to show his shiny bald head. I
It's
don't know.
not like he had to worry about his hair being messed up.
I mean, Trev, stop. just chill. Knock it off.
But people say that it's suspicious how Pelinka convinced Nico.
He was incognito. That's what Chad
Yeah.
said.
I mean, look, Nico reportedly told Rob he wanted this trade to happen. He wanted to trade Luka. He made the decision. He was going to go all in on defense. And I think the crazier thing, perhaps even crazier than Nico uttering the words, "What about a Luka trade?" or however he said it, was that Rob Pelinka reportedly was able to say, "Well, we can't, because you want so badly to keep this quiet, and we'll do you a favor. We'll keep this quiet." Could you imagine, like, if you're the Lakers, you badly want to keep this quiet too, because anybody finds out about it, they're going to beat your offer. But for Rob to say, "Well, since you want to keep this quiet so badly, I'll tell you what, we don't get to talk to Luka then. We have no idea if he would re-sign with us or not. So we'll do you that favor, but we have to pull a first out of the deal. It's only one first." I mean, it's only fair, right?
Well, the only reason that worked is because he specifically wanted Anthony Davis because of prior history with Anthony Davis. That's the only reason why that was a doable thing. And that's the only reason why he proposed this trade to the Lakers. So that's where, like, we have to give AD at least some credit in that that the Lakers don't have Luka without AD, because they couldn't have done anything else, right? So I mean, he wanted AD specifically. So that was the reporting. So that being said, I mean, it wasn't a very hard sell for Rob when it's, "Oh, you want my guy, but you're going to give me a 26-year-old generational superstar." Well, guess what? We already had concerns about his ability to be the face of our franchise post LeBron. Oh, there was also a report that the Lakers preferred to get a playmaker to be the guy that replaces LeBron as the long-term face of the franchise. AD wasn't that. We know AD struggles to kind of get his own when he's not being set up. So, like, it all lines up perfectly for the Lakers' interests. And it's Luka, a friggin' one generational superstar, international superstar, in the biggest, or whatever you want to say, second biggest market in the entire world. Like, this it lines up too cleanly. So if you're Rob, why the hell would you do anything else? But you're right. The fact that he was able to say, "Oh, well, okay, well, let's take let's take a pick off the table because XYZ." And frankly, the fact that Nico didn't have the wherewithal to negotiate the addition of somebody like Austin Reeves, because I think Rob still pulls the trigger on that, but he couldn't even get back Austin Reeves in this deal. Like, I don't know, man. This just wasn't, like, you could strip this up and down. That's why I said I'm not trying to say it was a good trade when I was talking about the value, but I just think that this was he can't be in his right mind. He's crazy. Like I said, he's crazy. It is what it is. I think he overthought this process so disgustingly. And on the heels of building a team that was a very clear title contender,
went to the finals.
That went to the finals, that I think was actually better than that team the following season at the start of the season. So
Nico deserves a statue at Crypto. Look, I said it. Nico needs to drive to LA right now. He will not pay for a single meal. That said, that doesn't mean, somebody asked me, should the Lakers hire him? No. Keep it.
What?
You think Luka wants to hang out with them? No. I'm just saying the city of LA would be welcoming. The Lakers shouldn't be.
For what reason? I think if they had got Reeves back, I think it would have still been viewed poorly, but I think it would have been viewed much better, especially with what Reeves is right now. And Reeves is exactly what they need. They need a playmaking guard like him. He would come in, and he's shown that he's got the ability to scale up, and it would have been talked about much better, right?
I would even go farther. I would say if Austin Reeves was in the deal instead of, let's say, Max Christie, Nico still has a job.
Yeah, because they're also not 3-8 right now.
No way. They're not 3-8. 100%. That's it exactly. So. Which makes me wonder. Patrick Dumont reportedly put a stop to Anthony Davis coming back. Nico wanted him to come back, and Dumont said no. Wants him to rest up more. Was he afraid? Was he already planning to fire Nico and was afraid that AD would come back and they'd win a couple of games or something, and then he wouldn't be able to?
Possibly.
I wonder if that was a factor in his decision.
But also last time AD came back from an injury, it didn't go great.
No.
So,
All
maybe
right.
take your time.
Will said, "Hey guys, enjoy your podcast. Thank you for your hard work." Well, thank you, Will. We appreciate that. We appreciate the super chat. Think ownership will use Nico as a scapegoat. They just don't want to take the blame for it. In the letter that he wrote, Patrick Dumont, or at least either he wrote, his assistant wrote, ChatGPT wrote, whatever. He did take some blame for the situation. And in the conversation he reportedly had with that fan sitting courtside, took blame, said he made a mistake with that. So I do think they were taking blame for it there, but still, it's Nico that's ultimately going to lose his job over it.
Yeah, for sure. He's like I said earlier, he is the easiest guy in the history of guys to be a target because it's already there for you. You don't have to do anything if you're Dumont. You just got to fire him and you instantly win a lot of fan support for doing that decision. Just finally firing him, you instantly win that, and you say, hey, we're going to get better, I'm going to make the right decisions, we shouldn't have done this, I regret it. And you say all the right things, and you, as long as from here the track record is good, I think that you could curry a lot of favor, right? And obviously it's not going to be great, people will still hold resentment, it'll never go away because of this trade, but I think he's the easiest scapegoat of all time. You just throw him under the bus and it's done, right? For the record on that, I've seen like MFFL Twitter, a few bigger fan pages now saying, "Oh, Luka, he's gone. Come home in 2028." What do you think about that? And those tweets have gone pretty big, man. They got like 10,000.
I mean, LeBron went back to Cleveland. I'm sure that the Mavs would love to bring him back, but yeah, that's a long ways away. We'll see what happens between now and then.
He's got to opt out or whatever in 2028. And I mean, he said he wants to stay his rest of his career, and I don't expect it, but that's interesting, right? Fans have now got their hope back for Luka.
Yeah, I mean, never know. LeBron went back to Cleveland. Appetizer Sushi said, "Don't be cocky. We are the same fan base shouting to the heavens, Lakers in 5." The Lakers in 5 thing to me was always more of a joke than anything else. We keep getting eliminated in 5. We want teams to trade with us. Oh, absolutely. And I don't think there's I guess there are some victory laps from Lakers fans and things of that nature, but I think everybody understands they got, one of the most insane trades of all time, which is why so many fans of other teams are pissed off. Not just that Luka was traded, not just that the plight of the Dallas Mavericks, but who they traded him to. Certainly is a factor in the outrage from other fans around the NBA. But yeah, I think the Lakers still need to make trades in order to get to where they want to go this season. They've got to improve their defense. So no, I don't. Should Rob Pelinka be calling up everybody and celebrating and taking a victory lap? No, absolutely not in this situation for sure. And not that he would anyway, because somebody lost his job over this, and that's certainly not what he intended to see or wanted to see. That's not the way trade negotiations or the GM community or any of that works.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody is really being cocky about anything. We need to see what happens ultimately. But I think we can acknowledge that they got a great trade and they're now set up for the future when it was a question mark, right? Like I was mentioning earlier, there was legitimate questions and concerns about Anthony Davis's ability to lead the team in that regard post LeBron. So I think they got their guy, and that's something to at least be happy about.
All right. The Lakers should go give Max Christie trade Gabe Vincent. Why are we doing that to the Mavs?
Hey, they need a point guard.
That's just mean, man.
They need a point guard. They need a point guard.
Yeah, but not Gabe Vincent. Gabe has been fine. He's not, don't get me wrong, he's fine this year.
No.
He's hurt now.
They just need a point guard. That's it. That's all reliable right there. Did you ever see that SpongeBob meme of all reliable of THT and a draft pick? Did you ever see that?
No.
Now it's Gabe Vincent and a draft pick.
Well, yeah, now the Lakers trade package forever was Taylor Horton-Tucker, and then if you didn't want THT, they had nothing else they could do. Then now it's Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and a draft pick. Who wants it? Dalton Connect. If you could give up Gabe and Connect for Max, would you do it?
In a heartbeat.
Right? I mean, that's easy. What if you had to give up the first?
In a heartbeat.
The first two for Max?
I don't care. Get him out of here. Because getting off Gabe is a plus. Getting off Gabe is a plus.
Gabe is an expiring contract. If he had more years under
that.
contract, he'd be a plus.
Gabe is a minimum player post contract. How about
Agreed.
that? So
Agreed.
like getting off Gabe is a plus.
But you trade him as an expiring contract.
No, it's addition by subtraction. So getting Gabe off the roster.
Why do you hate Gabe Vincent so much? What did Gabe do to you?
Actually, I like Gabe. I've always said every time that he did more things that didn't show up in the box score, things like that. Even when we were calling him Guardio Gabe last year, but I want JJ exactly. I want JJ to move away from trying to play him, and we know that when he comes back, he's going to go right back to using him a lot. And I just don't want him to do it. I just want him to play the bigger guys, play Laravia in that spot. We know for one also. It's also about Max, is that Max is younger than Connect by 2 years. And Max has developed into an amazing 3-point shooter. He was already on that upward trajectory with the Lakers, which is partly why Nico wanted him. We know what he is defensively. He would fit amazingly on this roster alongside Luka. And so I would do that easily. And I don't really have a lot of faith in Connect right now. I think he'd be a guy that if he goes elsewhere, he'd ball out, but I don't really care about that. He can go somewhere else and put up his 20 points, and I'd be cool with that as long as we get back Max in that trade. But in terms of Gabe, I don't want him being on this roster playing rotation minutes.
Max Christie currently shooting 45% from three, 13 points per game. He is one of the few bright spots on the Dallas Mavericks. And I agree. I think I might be out on Dalton Connect at this point.
I don't like Dalton. I'm sure Dalton is a guy that could go. Like if he had went to Charlotte, I'm sure he's putting up 17 points a night. Like I'm positive. It's just, I think the lights are too bright for him. He doesn't get played in the role that he wants to use, all these different things. And we know it's in there because we've seen it. We've seen it a handful of times where he's just erupted as a flamethrower. We know it's there. I just don't think this is the right destination.
But the Mavs can't trade with the Lakers.
No, they won't.
Yeah. AD would be great in Orlando. Yeah, I mean, they've got bigs there, but AD could be a fit. Yeah. He could be a fit in Orlando. Who fits in with the defensive culture there. AD for Joel Embiid and the Clippers 28 first. I don't think anybody's going to touch the contract of Joel Embiid, even with that first attached.
No, he's got the worst contract in the NBA. Him or PG? Which one?
He's getting $67 million 3 years from now, and he can't stay on the court right now.
Yeah, it's very clearly those two guys.
It's Embiid's, but PG hasn't even been on the court yet at all this year. Yeah. Lakers lifer said, watched the night we got Luka Doncic. Trev, you were down on the Doncic AR combo and even Rui a little. Tell me, has it been better or worse than you expected? Oh, so first of all, keep in mind that the night the Lakers got Luka, the night the trade happened, we went live. Keith Smith and I jumped on together, and our heads were still spinning trying to figure out if it was even real. Like if this was actually happening. My phone was blowing up with people asking, is this real? Is this real? Is this actually going down? Because that was, remember, Shams Charania had to go back on and retweet something saying, no, this is real. And then people were challenging him saying, take a video of yourself saying it's real, because nobody believed him. People thought it was completely fake and that he had been hacked. That's how unbelievable that trade was. So in terms of high level analysis that night, it wasn't like we were deep into the weeds of exactly how is this all going to work out. But that was the concern, right? Initially was, okay, defensively, will Luka and Austin Reeves work together? Does Luka and Rui work together defensively? That's the concern. Offensively, no problems. Offensively, they're great. Defensively, will they work together? Right now, the defensive numbers, if you've got concerns about their defense, guess what? The numbers back that up. They're in the 30th percentile when Austin and Luka are on the floor defensively. However, they're in the 100th percentile offensively. They're so good offensively with the two of them on the floor right now that the defense doesn't matter as much. They're plus 13.6 per 100 possessions with Austin and Luka on the floor together. So I do think ultimately they have to get better defensively, but that gives me a little bit more belief that, and we have a long way to go. We're small sample size territory right now, but that gives me a little bit more optimism that you put the right defensive players alongside Luka and Austin, and it can indeed be something pretty devastating. But the defensive concerns are real, and they're there. Just the question is their offensive game so good that it doesn't matter? And then you get into questions of, well, does it become a bigger deal come playoff time?
Yeah, and I also question about the athleticism piece of it, just the sheer foot speed, athleticism
Mhm.
of the pairing. They lack all of that. And so when the game slows down, we know Luka can get his. Austin has previously been able to, but the last couple seasons he hasn't so much. He was hurt last offseason or last playoffs, so I'm not so mad about that. But I do wonder about the way his game right now translates to the playoffs. I think he's better. He's obviously much better than he was last year, so I'm very hopeful of that. But I think when guys are able to be more physical and they're able to grab you more without as many repercussions, I do wonder about that piece of it. But overall, though, I don't really have any concerns about otherwise anyway, especially for the regular season about this pairing. It would be nice to get some better fitting pieces around them, ideally
Mhm.
two-way guys. There's still a lot of, like there's been for the last few years, still a lot of one-way guys in this roster, like a DK, for example, or like a
Yeah.
Vando, for
Vando,
example. Like
yeah.
there's still a lot of like one-way pieces. And maybe that's where JJ is like, I love Gabe because Gabe is somebody that's at least average on both sides. Like you can maybe play him a little bit. You squint a little bit, he's a two-way guy. So yeah, I think that would be nice overall, but I'm not so concerned about it, especially I think the big thing with AR is like going forward, how much is he going to want? There was a report that he's not concerned about getting the most amount of money. He just wants to mostly stay with LA. And I think
Mhm.
that could be huge. That number is very important to the future of this team and its future builds. And I think that it's been proven that you can have a really, really, really good team with those two. You just need the right pieces around them overall. But that night that happened, it was also a little bit bittersweet because for one, you don't want to see your guys go. You don't want to see Max go. He's somebody that you
Sure.
had developed. The Lakers, I think, after that win, were the 3 seed already or the 4
Yeah,
seed
they'd
also.
just beaten the Knicks, and it was like one of the big uplifting wins of
Yeah,
the
it was a
season.
great
They did
win.
great.
Like, and LeBron was awesome that game. Max was really good that game. And like I said, they were a top seed as well. And then boom, Luka hits. So like I think everybody like, and then also the whole like is he hacked? Is this real? Whatnot? I think everybody was very disoriented that night for various reasons. So I don't really have a problem, with any initial reactions. On the Rui piece, I am a little bit worried about him just in general, just because of his slotting
He's
on
so
this team.
good offensively, though. He's been so efficient.
He's a flamethrower. He's been like last I checked, he was like a top 6 most efficient player in the NBA.
Mhm.
Like Rui is a flamethrower. He's really developed that part of his game. I would still love to see him take another 2-3 threes a game just to see like how if that can scale up with that as well.
Yeah.
But I am worried about him defensively. Again, another guy that lacks that foot speed, can kind of get targeted. He's better at guarding those bigger guys like the centers or whatever, small ball centers, guys like that, than he is guarding on the perimeter. But when LeBron comes back, unless LeBron is going to take that primary assignment, Rui will be forced to do that. I think there are some concerns with some of these guys, and maybe it's extended out away from just the backcourt, and maybe it's extended to other core pieces that you need to potentially shuffle on this roster.
Yeah, that's the bigger question. I think Austin and Luka can fit. Can Rui occasionally going space cadet mode on defense? Is that work with the two of them? I think that's the concern. And it's frustrating because he is exactly what you want with Luka, with LeBron, with Austin, in terms of just being a play finisher, being a guy who's going to knock down those open looks. He is great, elite even at that. But the other end of the floor is a killer. So that's the hard part. All right, let's go here. Logan, Luka is so great he has to win multiple chips and MVPs or he's a bust. Okay. I think that's a little extreme to say he's a bust. He's already been in the MVP conversation every single year as a 3rd overall pick. There's no way he's a bust right now. He's one of the top 3-4 players in the NBA.
I think he's saying he's not fulfilling his potential, I guess, is what he's saying.
Sure. But multiple chips and MVPs or he's like, I don't know. That's setting a pretty high bar there. From his rookie season, he's exceeded expectations, but chips are only needed out. Yeah, he does need to win championships, and that's going to be on the Lakers to put together a team that can do that. There's no question. He's got the talent certainly to do it, but yeah, it doesn't. Like, is Charles Barkley a bust?
No.
Is Karl Malone a bust? John Stockton a bust? I mean, these are guys who were great players. Steve Nash a bust. They just never won a championship. You wouldn't consider any. That's the only thing that I would contend with here is he's a bust if he doesn't win those things. No, there's a lot of great players that never won a championship. Obviously, that's not what you hope to see for Luka, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But that doesn't make that player a bust.
Yeah, he's got a decent runway, so I'm not too concerned about it. I feel pretty confident he'll get at least one. I feel pretty confident.
All right, let's go here. We'll do a couple more. AD for Willie Hernan-Gomez. What? Why are we being mean to the Mavs? William said downside of Nico firing, GMs won't trade with the Lakers. What, because they're wary of what happened with Nico and they're worried about getting fired themselves?
I mean, as long as you don't trade your superstar, then you should be fine. Like, don't
trade your superstar.
That's not. I don't have any
Trading
problem with that.
The Lakers doesn't inherently mean you're gonna get fired. Trading your star to the Lakers without getting value back.
Yeah. Maybe just don't do that. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a very hard thing to do. Just don't trade your superstar to your generational top 3 or 4 player in the NBA superstar. Just don't do that, maybe.
All right. Jerry says AD for Morant gives Memphis the best defensive front line.
That actually kind of is interesting because they could use a point guard, and I could see Ja going to Dallas and being really good there. That could be kind of fun.
Is Ja the guy that you want with a young Cooper Flag?
I mean, in terms of what, like role model? Because I'm not sure if that's exactly the way I would go with that.
Well,
but in terms of on the
does
court,
Dallas need a point guard now, or in a few months?
Well, yeah, Kyrie. Yeah. They that's right. They do have Kyrie. So right now they do need a point guard. But yeah, I wouldn't want that backcourt, Kyrie and Ja together also.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe not. I forgot about Kyrie, if I'm being honest.
So, well, but if Kyrie was out, I could see this making a little bit of sense. I think it makes more sense for Memphis. But even for Memphis, like, is that really, if you're going to move Ja, don't you want to get somebody who's younger that can be your guy moving forward? Or if not, just try to get picks.
Yeah, you do. You want that for sure. You want to get somebody younger. Also, is that defensive front line better than the current one that Dallas has?
Well, in theory, Dallas has it isn't on the court, but
in theory, anyway.
I mean, it should be, right? You've got a former defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson Jr. and the guy that should have won the defensive player of the year instead of him in Anthony Davis together. So in theory, that should be a very good defensive front court there.
Yeah. You got Edie as well.
Yeah.
Clark, if he's ever healthy again.
Yeah, Edie's hurt too, but he did just get reassigned to the G League club. So we'll see. He should be back soon.
Speaking of G League, I got to say, how surreal is it that Bronny James is on the big club and LeBron was assigned to the G League? That is insane, isn't it?
You know, I don't think I ever officially, because I don't think he can't be officially assigned to it. Because I was I didn't get we get a press release every time somebody gets assigned. But you're right. Yes, that's crazy that LeBron is going to play with the South Bay Lakers before LeBron Jr. is going to play with the South Bay Lakers this season is absolutely crazy.
That's a good way to end it, though.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We appreciate you all joining us here. We stayed on longer than I expected, but you guys had some great questions, comments, all of that. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you do subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications as well. Thank you again, everybody. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.